I'm Sini Ross with BrightStar Care St. Croix Valley, and today I have a special guest. I've got Heidi Thayer, who is actually our branch manager, and the reason I brought Heidi in today is that we wanted to chat about a very important subject, and that's the subject of how to approach family members with hospice and what is hospice, because there's a lot of myths out there about what hospice entails. So Heidi, share with us about what you're going through right now with your loved ones.
Well, my mother-in-law, Judy, was diagnosed 4.5 years ago with stage 4 lung cancer. And over the Christmas holiday, we had some kind of crisis situations arise with her. And she has been, quite honestly, not doing so great since then. She is very tired, very worn out. Throughout the duration of her illness, she's been on either chemotherapy or some sort of clinical trial, and it's just really taken a toll on her little body.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, what you shared with me just not too long ago was that it seemed as if, and this happened with my family too, is that when your loved one is in the hospital and they're trying a lot of different things, no one seems to be talking about other possibilities which may be more appropriate, such as hospice.
Right, and that was definitely the case with us too. It was interesting to me because the doctors themselves had very different opinions as to what they thought should happen. And some were very energetic to try other things, and others were more, let's just kind of let Judy decide, and realizing that she was tired.
What our experience was with my family was that it's almost like people are afraid to use the word hospice.
Yes.
And I think that's really a disservice, because what hospice really is it's a philosophy about how do you make the most out of what you have, what time you have left. And what's really fantastic about hospice is they change the way that they approach caring for the loved one. What they're really doing is they're focusing on how do we make that person as comfortable as possible, and how do we enable them to live out the rest of their life to the best of their ability. So how did you finally get to that point where hospice was on the table?
That was interesting as well. I know about hospice because we went through that with my father. So that's kind of the only reason I knew it existed and kind of what it was about. And I was surprised that nobody up to this point had talked about it at all.
So what'd you do?
Well, we were in, the doctor came in, and this was week 3 of my mother-in-law really not responding to anything, and kind of running out of options. And I brought it up.
So you were the black sheep in the family.
I was.
And you're a daughter-in-law
I'm
too.
an in-law. So
Yeah.
yes, it for me it was very stressful. I didn't want to step on toes. I knew my father-in-law wasn't going to be ready to hear that, especially not having an understanding of what hospice is. So I knew he was going to be it was going to produce anxiety for him.
So how did it transition into more of an accepted
Once
concept?
I just put it out there, thankfully, the doctor who we were working with at the time was wonderful at talking about it and explaining what it meant and what it was. And for my in-laws, it meant that Judy could come home.
Yeah. Our experience has been, what we do is we're not a hospice agency, but what we do is we dovetail into the hospice benefits. So let's say, for example, what was your experience as far as what hospice was, what type of services were provided?
Well, I remember going back to the experience with my father. This was almost 8 years ago now. I was surprised at how limited the services were.
Mm-hmm.
A nurse came in once or twice a week to kind of check on things, check on meds and whatnot. And then there was a PCA who came in usually twice a week to help out with some bathing or with some housekeeping kinds of activities. But everything, there was a whole lot of time left it was just my mom.
So out of the entire week, how many hours of service did you receive?
I would say average about 5 hours a week.
So 5 hours with the attendant, and how much with the nurse?
The nurse was typically there an hour twice a week.
Yeah, that was the same experience I had with my father, because our family, we just assumed that when we signed up my father for hospice, that all of a sudden the cavalry was gonna come in and they would take everything off of our hands. But instead, it was just a nurse visit once or twice a week to take care of the medications, the pain medications.
Right.
And then the aide would be coming for just maybe 2 visits out of the week.
Right.
And then the family is left up with the round-the-clock cares.
Exactly.
So that's where we come into the picture at BrightStar, is that if you don't have the family members to support you, as in I'm an only child and my mother's from Finland, and we don't have a whole heck of a lot of relatives around here. So how do you find the support network so that you don't burn both ends of the candle? And that's exactly what we do.
Yep.
So can you share any kind of advice that you would say for families when they're going through this portion?
I think the main thing is to educate yourself, because what I realized with Judy is that the doctors aren't going to bring it up. You're going to have to ask, and you're going to have to get the information on your own. Even with asking and having some conversations, there was a lot of information that still wasn't shared that was like a surprise.
Yeah.
So I would say educate yourself. Talk to social workers at the hospital. Feel free to call BrightStar and talk with us. We'd be happy to share what we know with you, but get that information.
Yep. And we also know of hospice support groups and other resources along those lines. So by all means, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to point you in a direction that'll help you. So once again, this is Sini Ross with BrightStar Care, and also Heidi Thayer, and we want to thank you so much for watching.